The macro market, are you still concerned about inflation, Matt? I mean, inflation was like the big thing everyone's been talking about for months. What are interest rates going to be 6 months from now or a year from now?
We've been talking about this for a while now, that a lot of the leading indicators to our mind seem to be pointing towards a higher likelihood of inflation, kind of capping out and potentially even reversing. But then like month after month, we've been wrong because the inflation reports have just been, quite high.
The month over month is what's so important here. The 0.3% CPI reading month over month. And next month, it's already projected by Cleveland Fed to be 0.2%. It's sort of unwinding now, is my view. And that unwinding of that crippling of supply chain shocks and all that is kind of happening. And now inflation's coming back down fast. No one's a macro market expert, but I think the market overcorrected on the downside like it always does. And now it's kind of coming back to normalcy. And maybe once it gets a few more data points about inflation, that will be very telling about where we are going.
There's a huge amount of short positions in the S&P 500 futures market. It's the highest level that we've seen since the original COVID crash, like in 20. There's a lot of reasons why this time is different than that. Interest rates aren't, quite as low, obviously. But I do think it's like apt to call that rocket fuel.
Elon is apparently, I think he probably really is done selling this time. I'm torn because I want the Twitter deal to work out because I want Elon to control Twitter. But if it doesn't work out, I'm also very excited for Tesla stock.
I don't know. I'd say it's probably like 75% chance the Twitter deal happens at some price.
It seems like institutional ownership is coming up on Tesla. And to me, it's a huge bullish sign because there's so many institutions that are not yet on board with owning Tesla.
I don't know. Hopefully they're super convicted and long-term holders, but I do think that's a risk that, they could sell down a huge number of shares. But I think the bigger opportunity, the bigger point is like you said, that broadly speaking, most institutions are like either own zero or are significantly underweight Tesla.
I mean, Roblox, I'm still a huge fan of. I think it's a big part of our future. The thing I like about this business model with the immersive advertising that they're pushing out is they're making it self-service. Roblox does have a support team or a relationship team that will help a little bit on guiding you through that stuff, but they don't have like sales executives in Roblox trying to court Louis Vuitton and try to court the NFL to come onto Roblox. I think it's much more scalable as
my finance brain starts thinking about that and be like, okay, well, their margins are not going to be worse in the future than they are now if there's kind of growing base of customers having these sort of monetizable experiences. They're coming up with really novel, interesting things where you would actually want to spend time in these virtual experiences.
That's the thesis here. Is Roblox has this bigger traffic fulfilling loop. It's critical mass. Could be another year, a couple of years till like plays out where more people get excited about it than now. But I think it's a trend. It's not a fad.
The news that happened this quarter was like gross margins in particular were lower than the low end of guidance. So there was a bit of a miss there. Part of it, they said, was on like the mix of launch products. The thing that really got me excited on the call was they've got a very good plan in place to get the Solero margins back up to I think they said 25% range. There's a decent number of payloads that are out there on, that kind of were offered bargain basement pricing on their launch services, but like they need to launch. And if you signed up for, I don't know, Firefly or one of these other companies that just haven't been able to accomplish what Rocket Lab has, but there's a good chance, Peter Beck thinks, that Rocket Lab may be standing in line to get a lot of these contracts. So they're really trying to push the needle in terms of being as flexible as possible to both accommodate like scheduled delays, but also to pack in as many launches as possible. So I thought that was really good news and it creates a lot of value, and they can actually upcharge for that service, but their costs don't change. A lot of margin potential, a lot of growth potential.
I certainly have faith that the space industry is going to continue to grow. Satellite constellations is going to be a big business.